Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets. I want to thank everybody for their inspirational comments on my the video I did on Lexington and Concord. It was inspirational to read those comments. It was a very emotional time for me, and it was good to see that some of you, at least I was able to portray that and how hallowed those grounds were. So I went there yesterday on Saturday, and actually reading the comments, it motivated me to go today to two other locations to help bring the history. Sorry, as a car, always, every time I come out here, there's some stupid car has to race by. But the comments this morning when I was reading them really inspired me to go to two other locations for you that, again, we take for granted because we're so close here in Massachusetts, and that's the Battle of Bunker Hill, and then a cool surprise that maybe not a lot of you, maybe even the locals, didn't really know about. So I'm gonna cut my little intro here. I'll roll into it after the break. Let me know what you guys and gals think about it. Again, it means a lot that you all found value from the previous video. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it above. Please do watch that. I think it's something that every American, especially us freedom-loving Americans, needs to see. I'll see you on the other end. All right, guys, here we are at Bunker Hill, and ironically, it's not really Bunker Hill, but we'll get into that. Now, I want you to recall the video I did on Lexington and Concord, and that was in April of 1775, and the battle here took place in June 1775. The commander-in-chief for the British soldiers in Boston was General Thomas Gage, and he was under immense pressure to quash the colonial rebellion. Now, after Lexington and Concord happened, several things took place. One, General Gage had reinforcements and was ready to implement a new strategy against the Americans. But on the flip side, a lot of American militia and Minutemen were enraged that Gage's troops opened fire on Americans. Now, after Lexington and Concord, like I mentioned earlier, some 20,000 militia and Minutemen from all parts of New England descended on the Boston area. They, in effect, they bottled up the troops of Britain in Boston. Now, by mid-June, Thomas Gage, the general, had become increasingly concerned about the sheer number of patriots that were in the immediate area. On the militia side, General Artemus Ward ordered his troops to the top of what is Breed's Hill, and erroneously we now call it Bunker Hill. Now, those men worked all night long and built a fortification at the top of the hill, and it was really impressive. In fact, when the British woke up the next morning and saw the fortification, they knew that something needed to be done. Now, the fortification was built the night of June 15th into the morning of June 16th, 1775. Now, at the time, General Thomas Gage had some new generals that were here to help him, and they were Generals William Howe, Henry Clinton, and John Burgoyne. On the morning of June 17th, after noticing this fort that was built up top of Breed's Hill, aka Bunker Hill, Gage and his commanders ordered the British regulars and grenadiers to move across Boston Harbor to disembark in Lower Charlestown, where Gage and his men would force the rebels' hands with an assault. Led by General William Howe, King George's troops climbed Breed's Hill in complete battle formation. Now, as they advanced, American officer William Prescott cautioned his men not to waste their powder, saying the famous quote, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." And when British troops got close to the redoubt, the Patriots unleashed a barrage, creating an absolute slaughter on the advancing British soldiers. One Patriot later remarked, quote, "They advanced toward us in order to swallow us up, but they found a choky mouthful of us." It was so bad that the British retreated back to their lines. Once again, the British ordered another attack, pushing up the hill, stepping over the bodies of their dead and wounded comrades on the way. And the legend is that the groups of bodies on the ground were as thick as sheep in a fold. And again, they came under a volley from the American Patriots. Finally, a third line of Brits went after the fort, attacked the fort, and at that time, the American patriots ran out of powder and out of shot, and the British got into the fort. At that time, an intense hand-to-hand fight occurs inside the fortification, and ultimately the British were victorious, but at a huge cost. Now, one thing that went well for the side of the Patriots is that Peter Salem is credited with killing British Major John Pitcairn, who was despised by the locals for being the person who allegedly ordered his men to fire on Patriots during the Battle of Lexington and Concord a few weeks earlier. All in all, on the American side, there were 115 Patriots killed, another 305 were wounded, and 30 were missing and or captured. On the British side, there were 226 troops killed, 828 were wounded, and none were missing or captured. Now remember, there was a great many Patriots that had descended on the area from all over New England, and those who chose to stay to keep the British bottled up in Boston became the nucleus of the Continental Army, the same army that Virginian George Washington would assume command of in Cambridge, Massachusetts, within 2 weeks of the Battle of Bunker Hill. And that is where we're going next. So here we are now at 105 Brattle Street in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It is known as the Longfellow House, and it is also George Washington's headquarters while he was commanding the Continental Army here in Boston. Now, this house was erected in 1759 by John Vassell, who ended up being one of the largest landholders in Cambridge. However, when we get to 1774, because of his loyalist sympathies, in September of that year, he abandoned his mansion and soon fled the country. Well, on July 2nd, 1775, the new commander-in-chief of the Army of the United Colonies, George Washington, arrived in Cambridge and spent 2 weeks at the Wadsworth House in Harvard Yard before moving into this empty Vassell House. And that's what he first called it, the Vassell House. General Washington occupied this residence as a headquarters through March of 1776. And when writing letters from the house, Washington and others officially called this location Headquarters Cambridge or Camp at Cambridge. Now, as myself and my little girls arrived to the property, it was closed for the day. I guess it's not open on Sundays. But the grounds were open until dusk, so we took a quick walk around the house, and I'm just going to show it to you here. It's absolutely stunning. All right, guys, I just, again, I want to thank each and every single one of you for your time you spend here watching the videos that I produce. It really means a lot. And thank you, again, for the comments on the Lexington and Concord video. I don't know how people thumbs down those videos, but those could be the people we're fighting against. But thank you. It was an honor to do it for you, to help so people could actually see that stuff. And I look forward to doing it again. Some very sobering experiences for myself and my kids this weekend. And never, ever, ever forget what it took to start this great land. And never forget that what's going on now needs to be stopped. Until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, carry a weapon. I'll see you in the next one.